Hey everybody, I'm Elisa from Tailwind Content Marketing Manager, and I am joined today by the very fired up Kate All of Simple Pin Media.
Spicy and fired up.
She is fired up. So we have a lot to talk about today, and this is a little bit self-indulgent for me, but we're going to pretend that it's for everybody. No, it really is. But I know that there was a huge creator event that Pinterest put on in San Francisco this week. I was not there this year. Danny and Kevin from Tailwind were there, and they had a great time. They shared so many photos and little tidbits that were going on that I was just kind of dying that I wasn't there. But I knew it would be okay because Kate was there. And we had arranged that you would come on and tell us what happened and what you learned. And we've only talked for just a couple minutes because we wanted to keep it fresh. It was hard. It was really hard.
It was hard. You're going a mile a minute. We're just like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So, hey, Linda and Jennifer, and welcome everybody who is here. Let's get started, Kate. What was this creator event about? How did you end up there?
Okay, so how I ended up there, that seems like a big question that people have. And there was an email that had gone out about this creator event. Mm-hmm. And some people said they didn't get it. Some people said they did. I have noticed that some of my Pinterest emails from their business account will go to spam. So just know that you should always check your spam account for things. But they had sent out this that they wanted to connect with creators. And what we had seen over the previous 6 months was there seemed to be this tension between Pinterest and creators and some confusion. And so this was really, I would call it like an olive branch to go, okay, we need to start at square one. So how about we have a creators conference to bring creators together to talk about what we can learn from you, what you can learn from us, and just begin the conversation about how we can best work together to serve the pinner, the user. So that was sent out in an email, and you had to apply. So you applied, and then you got back whether or not you were accepted or not. And then it kind of went from there. There were 250 people, I believe. So I do know that there's quite a wait list. And I did run into Tori Tate, actually, and she said there was a bunch of name tags left at the front table. So I don't even know if everybody who said they were going ended up going. So, but it was very full. It was in an arts college, I believe, and it was very open and bright and very Pinteresty, of course. But the whole goal, again, was to bring together creators with Pinterest to try to bridge this conversation about how to work best together. And it was opened up with Evan Sharp, who's the co-founder, and he talked a lot about, just inspiring us with Pinterest and how they think and how they, just their vision for Pinterest and how they want to listen to regular pinners and how they use it and make the experience better for the end user. And that they really wanted to make that day all about connecting with creators. And he said, there are 50 Pinterest employees here. They all had white shirts on with red Pinterest name tags. And then they had some of the higher level managers and employees that worked at Pinterest too as well. Mm-hmm. And they had a help desk. They had feedback forms everywhere, these giant ones too.
Yeah, I saw the big survey.
Yeah, they were huge. I know Kim Bish was filling hers out with Sharpies. But you knew the tone of the day based on the morning to say, we're here, we're listening. And even Lauren, who put on the event, she was like, your goal is to stump the help desk. Throw whatever at them. We've had this bet that you're going to stump them. So that set the tone for the entire day. And that's really what the Creators Conference was about.
Cool. So I feel like this kind of started around the time of the Facebook Live that I did with Sarah, the product marketing manager at Pinterest. That was like, okay, we're going to show you how to succeed on Pinterest. And they do use that term creators a lot, which to me in my head means DIY crafters. Yes. But really what it is content creators. So, right, anyone who's supplying great content to Pinterest, which is what their platform is built on, they are creators.
Yeah.
So that is who Pinterest is going to talk to a little bit more. And what other network has ever done this?
Right. And they were very clear too to talk about their differences and why they're not a social network, why they are a discovery network, and how content creators are an essential part of that. In fact, at the end of the day, their final interview was with a girl who's a sophomore in college, and they had met her. I can't remember the state. I know it's in the Midwest, upper Midwest somewhere.
Yeah.
But they wanted to talk with her about how she used it as this college freshman at the time. Like, how do you use Pinterest, and what are things that you engage with, and what kind of boards you have? So to kind of bring this human aspect of, here's this pinner who used Pinterest, and here's a group of creators, and how much she loved the dream aspect of Pinterest, that it wasn't like Instagram for her, that it wasn't this, she didn't use these terms, but I'll use them because they're coming to my head, but like this lust after someone else's life. But it's this building these ideas for your own life. And there was a lot of freedom to be individualistic, to not be sucked into conversation or not be sucked into the comparison trap, when she was able to have control over creating her own boards and pulling together content from the creators, and why she loved it. It was such a really good, inspiring story that Evan Sharp introduced a video with her at the beginning in the morning, and then an actual interview with her at the end of the day. So it was a very good tie together of this woman who is a college freshman. She's who you're serving. She's who you're creating content for. And here's why she loves it. So I thought that was very, very well done.
That's great. I will be looking forward to your podcast episode. Blog posts about all of this stuff.
I know. I need to get on that for sure. I've got lots of notes and everything.
I bet you do. I know the things Danny and Kevin were sharing were just they were kind of mind blowing. But so the overall impression you got was this was an attempt to communicate and find out what creators need.
Absolutely. And I know you and I had talked about this a little bit before we came on. So I want to mention this as kind of like my biggest takeaway. So they had the creator conference, and then the next morning they invited you to brunch at the original Pinterest headquarters.
Nice.
It's not currently used. They'll use it in another, like in a year or so, but they have two other buildings as they have grown. So this original building is kind of like a lot of their history. Like Enid said, it's the Pinterest museum, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
And they gave us a tour, and they talked about the history, and they talked about how they came about with these certain things. And towards the end of the tour, we were talking with Enid and another employee that was there. And one of the things, she was asking for our feedback about the creators conference. Like, what did you think? And we were giving little things that we thought they could improve on, which first conference out of the gate was great.
A ton of work, and they put it together fast. It felt like
fast and free. Let's just note that. Like, I know the inner workings of a conference, and to do something for free, that's a big investment for a company, a big investment. And so when we were talking to Enid and this other employee, I just said I was so impressed by the human aspect of it, that you guys are human, that you care. And it was funny because she was like, oh, that kind of hurts a little bit. Like, we are human. Yeah. And Enid, and we are listening. And Enid was like, but we haven't been listening. So this is our beginning of this team of people who are listening. And I think that just was a good reminder to me that, like, it's easy to go, like, it's big company, and it's, the big bad company, and they're not doing what we want, and like whatever. But this conference, they were so open. Like I said, Evan Sharp said, there's 50 employees here. They're ready to talk to you. They're ready to give you their email. But in this moment, I was like, I just appreciate that. I know as a business, you're working really, really hard to do the best. And this moment, this creator conference in this time, is just a springboard. It's the beginning of a conversation to say, we want to get this right. And Ben Silberman too said at the end, when he did the final keynote, he said that. He was like, we haven't gotten it right, and we want to get it right. So we're going to start here. And he even said, he's like, we have miles and miles of feedback already just from the day. Really? And I mean, like nobody was holding back. I mean, they did stump the help desk multiple times. There was so much chatting, And for me, I guess I walked away, and I've always known this about businesses too. Like I've always been able to see like there's a human aspect behind everything. And it's easy for us on the outside to go, you should do X, Y, Z. And I could say that of any content creator's business too. You should do X, Y, Z. But everybody can come back and say, but I'm doing this and I'm working on this and you can't see it. And there's all this behind the scenes. And so I guess for me, it was an eye opener to go, grace is never a bad thing. These people need a lot of grace to figure it out. And I know that they are. Yes. I know they're trying to get it right. They're not just twiddling their thumbs and going, well, let's see what we can screw up today. Like they actually are working very intentionally. And the intentionality was also another big one for me. Like I just appreciated, man, the willingness to have conversations. And that room was chatty. There was not a dull moment of people saying, like, here's what I want, here's what I want. And sometimes even these help desk people were like, okay, I never thought about it that way. Mm-hmm. And that's also the thing. Like we expect them to understand the mind of the creator and they don't. So when you start at this point in the springboard, you go, oh, now I can understand where you're coming from. Yeah. And then it takes people a little bit time to process.
Are you locked up for anybody else? I can see you, but it seems like you're locked. Don't know. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm going to talk and hope I'm not talking over you. Oh, you lost her too. Hopefully she can come back in. Let me just send her a quick little message and let her know that she's locked up. I was going to say that I remember several months back when Pinterest made a change with recipe pins that were bypassing people's websites, and people just got incredibly upset, which, you understand why. But when they were contacted, they changed it. So this has been something that they've been working on. I think that what they did in San Francisco was amazing, and it's a great way for them to get some feedback and research to make a better product. They say you're locked, Kate. Okay. Let me add her back in.
Hi.
Hey.
They're doing construction. Break, huh? I know. And I was really getting all fired up. So I don't know where you stopped. But there's construction on my street. So I'm pretty sure they're like they're the cause of all things right now. So I'm just going to blame them.
Okay, we're going to blame them. Yeah. So we're getting some specific questions.
Perfect.
These are some things that aren't necessarily due to the conference, but I do want to cover a couple of those things. So Laura asked about the first 5.
She's out.
Right. Yeah. So it's not on the best practices page anymore. What is still there is the whole point of it, which is pins consistently, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, if you pin 90 pins in a row of, kitchen sinks, you mm-hmm. don't want all 90 pins showing up in the follower tab because people are going to unfollow you. So there's going to be some control over what gets shown and when, even in the follower tab, but don't stress about the first 5.
So can I say something that Leon said in his best practices that I think was really great? And he was talking about in relation to followers. He didn't talk about the first 5. And even Enid mm-hmm. said, like, it's out. Like, let's just set this.
Just forget
it. And it says, like, if your audience engages with your content, mm-hmm. you will get greater distribution. Yeah. So with that, you just, and they said, like, followers are almost always the first people to see your stuff, right, wherever that is at. But that brings the point home, like, how do you get them to engage with your stuff? And that it really comes back onto us, regardless of when it's seen. So take the 5. Done.
Yeah. So that to me is an even better case for Tailwind for the smart schedule, because it does know when your followers are most likely to engage. And those are the time slots it suggests. So rather than trying to figure it out yourself, just let Tailwind do it for you. There are a bunch of questions about group boards, which that was also addressed by Aaron and Leon in a Facebook Live last week about how they were built for people to collaborate. What they became was a way for people to amplify their content, which is not the intention. So that over time, they're going to start to pull back on the distribution of pins and prioritize single owner boards because they were not meant to do that. And I know a lot of people are super upset about that, but use them to collaborate, right? So if you're a realtor and you want to show your clients a home, create a group board and put your ideas in there and really collaborate. Or if you have a group of content creators you want to collaborate with on a project, you use it for that. It's great, but it's not the way to get distribution.
So with that, I'll say too, one of the things somebody asked, if you're going to collaborate with somebody or if you're going to create your own board, how specific should the board be? And they said, it should be very specific. The title of the board is really, really important. Always categorize. That was another thing that they said. And a good description is really important because if they interact with a pin on this specific board, it gives them a lot of data as to what it's all about. They're more likely to push it out so that they can interact with more pinners. So that being said, I know group boards have been one of those things that have been, really touted as something that's super successful for distribution, but I like the collaboration model. And we've actually seen that work for some of our clients when they collaborate with 2 to 3 people on a very specific named board with specific content. It's performing pretty well. So I would just get away from these big monster group boards that have a lot of followers that we've seen in the past. And we just change and flex with new things. So
and especially those group boards that are just pin everything, if it's not specific, that's a problem.
They did talk about that, which this jogs my memory here about something is they use the example of women's fashion. So let's say you have a board titled women's fashion and you're pinning to this board seasonal fashion throughout the year, right? Spring, summer, whatever. You actually don't want to do that because then what will happen is if you're pinning all summer fashion and you get to winter, Pinterest might recommend some more pins from that board to a pinner, but it's summer fashion in the middle of winter, right? So you want to get specific, like women's summer fashion. It's all summer outfits instead of that broad women's fashion, just because of that recommendation factor. And I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, so that fits in nicely with Clarissa's question about for a travel board, is the title travel sufficient or should the board title be longer? It should be not necessarily, the longer part isn't the point. It's the more niche, right? So travel tips for single women or, create
Asia travel tips, Vietnam travel tips, like very specific.
So, create your board titles around the content that you create and create them as specific as you can be. So, like if you are a second grade math teacher and you're selling on TPT, so you're creating these printables, you could have a board for second grade math printables. You could have a board for second grade multiplication projects, second grade division projects. The more specific you can get, the more Pinterest can read into the board, and then the pins on the board, they're easier for them to display where they'll perform best. That's a great example with the fashion, how you could,
I loved that.
It was like send the wrong signal unintentionally.
Yes, that was really, really good. I also, one of the things I'm reading through my notes to make sure there's nothing on the boards thing, but I think too, they talked about like when you archive boards, the question was, will you lose followers? And they said, no, you don't lose followers when that happens. So feel free to archive as needed. Then it just tells to Pinterest that your profile is no longer want to see stuff about this specific topic. So they're gathering all this stuff because they want to make your smart feed awesome. So.
I love that option. I was talking about that today and how You might have a board that you used for planning your wedding 2 years ago. And maybe for sentimental reasons and because it's pretty, you don't want to delete it. But you don't want to be seeing wedding pins in your smart feed anymore because you're over that. So that's
on to baby or whatever.
Yeah, most likely.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
Not that it has to be that fast, but
Yeah, well, here's a question. I don't know if we exactly know the answer.
Paula.
From Paula. Hi, Paula. She heard long ago. So long ago, so much has changed. But the Pinterest gets mad. Well, Pinterest doesn't get mad. But anyway, I know what she means. If you don't pin regularly to a particular board, then that board won't be seen as much. How does that work when honing in on the seasons or holidays? I don't want to be pinning Easter crafts in November, but don't want that board to die either. Or is that just not an issue anymore?
I would say it's not so much an issue anymore as far as like them being able to see the activity on your boards. I think it just depends on, especially seasonality, like you talked about with women's fashion, using that board effectively the 45 days before the holiday so that Pinterest can start recommending as you get closer to that holiday. And I think that's probably a more powerful tactic, and you're not as worried about like letting it sit. And that's something even I thought a long time ago. Like we did see with some accounts that when they had really active boards, it was great, but there was no mention of that. And there was really just mention of what you pin to that board needs to match the title and the description so that if somebody does interact with it, it gets served up to more people. So I wouldn't worry about that when it comes to the holiday boards, but I would be concerned about that if your pillar content has to do with something like gluten-free desserts and you never pin to it. I think that is probably something to be more concerned about, because then your audience isn't, it doesn't have the chance to be distributed because you're not pinning to it. But I wouldn't say with the things that are traditional holidays, I wouldn't be worried about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. Okay, so we have several questions about pinning the same thing to various boards. It looks spammy is a suggestion maybe. No, it doesn't. In fact, on the Pinterest best practices page, I think that part's still there, but it says you should.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so you should pin to all your relevant boards, which is the key. And we've discussed why that is, because if you pin to a board where it doesn't belong, that sends Pinterest some mixed signals about what that content is. And it can hurt your distribution, because now your spring dress is in a board that's listed as fall, and people are going to see the wrong thing and they're not going to engage with your pin. So and you don't have to do that all in the same day either, right? So if your blog post comes out, you don't have to save it to all the applicable boards right in a row. That could make the follower tab, like for people who follow you, they could see like a bunch in a row of the same pin, and that you don't want them to unfollow you, right? So spread them out. But they need to go in all the boards.
One of our account specialists said this to me a long time ago, and it's a kind of a practice that we've adopted here at Simple Pin as far as pinning. But think about the mind of the pinner and what they're searching for as it relates to your content, and group it together. And as in so let's say you're coming upon like 4th of July barbecue season, and you want to get out a lot of barbecue recipes. To be able to pin a lot of those pins on that day or the next day, that can sometimes be a good practice too, because you're serving up similar content. Obviously, this is not like this is just something for you to test, but then you're appealing to what your audience is searching for. So if I know it's on the Sunday and they're really looking for meal plans, or they're looking for some of these things, or somebody said, I think it was Vanessa, was talking about when brides in August, what type of when is their wedding going to be, and what are they searching for in August as it relates to their wedding? They're not necessarily searching winter. They might be planning their wedding for next summer. Yeah. So they might be, so really to tap into that. And I think that does take a little more work, but I like that idea of kind of batch pinning very similar, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Something to test.
Yeah. So in the way that Pinterest is trying to get into the mind of the creator, we as the creators really need to get in the mind of the pinner.
Yes.
And the best way to do that is to pin about something you love for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about how you use it, and think about, you had said this, which I thought was great. It was a long time ago, but it was really getting to the avatar of your pinner. What kind of magazines do they read? How old are they? What's their general demographic information? And what are they going to be searching for at this time? And tapping into that has a lot of value as far as what you pin and what kind of content you create, which that was another piece of the best practices that I appreciated. When I was sitting in, they both talked a lot about how they use Pinterest analytics to inform their content marketing and how they're going to create. It was very inspiring and cool just to listen to that. And I'm going to have her on the podcast, so I'm kind of nervous to share the tip because it was so good, but I'll share it anyway.
Oh, thank you.
She looked at, which I was just blown away. So if we're talking about the visual search piece, and they did have a class on that. I didn't get to go to that, but Christy Hill did, because you had to choose. Come on. They had morning and afternoon sessions, multiple classes.
Oh, too many tracks. Okay.
I know. And it's well, you could go to cocktails, but I'm not going to go to cocktails at 9 a.m. I'm going to go to this. So one of the things she did was she looked at her most pinned post and the image, and she realized that it was Alejandra was her name. I asked her to be on the podcast, so we'll go into this deeper. But she looked at the image, and it was a particular plate with a garbanzo guacamole salad. So she decided to create a new, and this was her viral pin. It just went crazy. She decided to create another salad, but take the picture the exact same way. So that when this viral pin it keeps going crazy. What's related?
Oh, that's so smart.
I know. I was like, oh, genius. And it
my goodness.
True, because then Pinterest recommended the same her pins because the image was almost exactly alike. I was like,
yeah, I'm going to use that.
I
Thank
know.
you, Alejandro.
Yeah, Alejandra. Yes.
Alejandra. I'm sorry. Yes.
I can't remember her last name.
Is Spanish. Yes.
No, it's okay. She was so delightful, and I was just she rocked my world. I'm looking up her name to make sure I got it right. Okay. But Alejandra Ramos of Always Order Desserts. So she gets the credit for that genius tip when she told me that, how she goes into Pinterest analytics, she looks at the image of her most viral pins and then retakes that same image with a new recipe.
So smart. Okay. Brilliant. Yes. That was worth the trip.
It was mic drop. That's all I needed.
Yeah. So tell me, okay, so you had different tracks to go to. Danny spoke on a track about influencer marketing, which I would love to bet on. I feel like that is just blowing up in general in the marketing world anyway, influencer marketing, even with micro influencers. But tell me about some of the tracks.
Okay.
You went to the workshops.
I have my little, they gave us this little, welcome to In the Making. Today is all about you. Millions of people on Pinterest are living more inspired lives because of the ideas you put out into the world. It's your work that sparks people's creativity and gets them excited to try new things. Set the tone, even with this. Yes. It was great. So, they had Shop Style was there, and I didn't get to go to that at all, but, they were talking about how you could potentially do affiliate marketing on your pins and increase revenue with that. Partnering
wait a minute. Did they say anything specific about Amazon links?
I wasn't in there.
Oh, okay.
I know. See, again, there was too many.
You couldn't be everywhere.
I felt like it was social media marketing world all over again. It was
no, the FOMO is everywhere, even when you're there.
I know. But they did record these, so I'm really hoping they did say that they'll put it out in a webinar. So I think webinars and on their YouTube channel. So look for that.
They'll be all set for a year. That's awesome.
I know. So partnering and collaborating with brands there was somebody there from Kroger, and Aaron led that. That was really talking about brands needing content creators. I did not go to that. Promote your pins like a pro. That was another one. I didn't go to that because I have you. So show and tell, search and communities. Search was really, I didn't get to go to that either. That was also about visual search and demos of search and kind of what's coming up.
Was there a lot about visual search in Lens?
That was the whole session. They had a morning and an afternoon session about visual search and lens.
Wow.
And there were demos and stuff like that. And we did get to see some things that are coming out soon, which I thought was cool. Like, I will get to that in a minute. I'm not going to get ahead of myself.
Okay, sorry, I distracted you.
It's okay. How to grow your brand. That's the one I went to about best practices and using tips to get the most out of your content. That's the one that Alejandra spoke out. That was really good. And then that also had an afternoon session, Ashley from Sugar and Cloth, and then someone else, I can't remember her name. I'll find it in here. She also spoke about that too. Both were great. Scent science. This was about the science of scent. It was more of a creative workshop. I didn't go to that. How to craft a cocktail. Again, it's 10 a.m. And then Q&A with Pinterest creators. So Allie Martin of Give Me Some Money, or Give Me Some Oven. Not Give Me Some Money.
Give me some money in my oven.
Joy Cho, I think that's how you say her name, of Oh Joy. And they were just taking Q&As about how they've been good content creators. And then we had an afternoon keynote with Britt and Co. and then Jericho Mandy Burr. So they talked a little bit about, they actually talked about self-care in business. Oh. So it was like, how do you really find that fine line of trying to find self-care and business growth? So that was that. And then afternoon sessions, again, there was Shop the Look, partnering with brands, promoting pins, show and tell, analytics in your profile. So analytics in your profile, they went into like audience insights and what they want to do with that and the pin stats. And they said right now there is a delay of 2 hours to get your stats rolling on that, but they hope to have it real time.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people suggested that they would like analytical feedback on a pin, like, or an image, a URL, like how many pins does it have everywhere? And that was something that they kind of, they didn't realize. So they were like, oh yeah, we don't know how to do that yet. That was another thing I appreciated.
Aggregate pin counts?
Well, it's aggregate pin counts, but it was like, how do you see, if I pin a post from my site, how do I see the total number of repins all across Pinterest? So they didn't have a way to like pull that together to go, this particular one has been pinned. Not this particular pin, but like the URL. Am I making sense with that? So
yeah, but I thought they did. So
they do on a specific pin, but it doesn't count all the other pins. So I'll go back and investigate that. They showed us with that. They were very good. So I'll pause and say, if they didn't know the answer to something, they did not make it up. They said, I think that it's like this, but you know what? I don't know. I'll have to get back to you. And I appreciate that response. It's like, I don't want somebody giving me a high level answer. They just said, I don't know. We'll add that to our notes. There were engineers there. The engineers talked about how commenting might become important. And someone said, like, how do I find my pins with comments? And they said, we don't have a way yet. Okay. We'll figure out a way to find, besides going all the way through your analytics, having it show up somewhere. So you can easily see, these are my pins that have comments and comment back, because the future that they want to do is have a reply button and a like button for comments. So you'd be able to have these threads, if you will.
Yeah. And
to be able to hide and delete comments.
Now, the one cool thing I started to notice about maybe a month and a half ago is that somebody shared so they went to my site, they saved my site. So there's a new pin on Pinterest. And I thought, oh, cool, I'll go check that out, see what they saved. And it already had a comment on it. And that's because it was pulling in comments from that same URL from another pin.
Comments will
really
travel with the pin, right? So, it's not just one pin
great.
Has all the comments. It goes all the way along, which I thought that was good. That was good as well. I really liked that.
Makes it so much more useful.
Totally. Then they had the same Q&A, with top Pinterest creators. And then their final keynote then was with Evan Sharp, and then Ben Silberman came out and just kind of talked about, here's where we're going and here's where we want to listen. And the two CEOs, Evan Sharp and Ben Silberman, were just walking around and, listening. And, people were able to say good things too, like thank you so much for, allowing me to use this platform. Like Kimber, she was great. She was with me when I was talking to Ben, and she was like, thank you. Because of Pinterest, I'm able to buy a house. Like I'm able to make money. Like those are good things that I think CEOs don't get to hear, and they don't get to hear good feedback. So I did hear a lot of people giving them good feedback instead of just negative. So that was also cool as well. Like I appreciated their willingness to listen. Like I don't know how many times I have to say that, but it was awesome. It was really good.
Good.
I do have these two other things that I took away. Pins that have a save button, they said get 5 times more saves from their website than ones that don't have a save button.
So sites that have a save button?
Yes.
Okay.
Sites that have a save button.
Cool.
And creating different images for different types of audiences. That was another one too. So really get creative with your images. And then, if you don't have an ability to create images, it's okay for you to try to find somebody who can create this for you, because obviously that's like the front door to your site.
And if you think about how long a blog post takes to write, usually an image takes a lot less time. So if you could get double or triple the traffic and eyeballs on your content with another extra image. I've noticed in a couple of my Tailwind tribes, there are some bloggers who do that consistently. There are always 2 versions of the pin for the same content. And sometimes I have to look at it close to figure out that's the same content they're promoting with 2 completely different pins, which is awesome. It lets people identify with one or the other and increases the chances of engagement, which is so smart.
It is. And again, I'm giving away all the tips from Alejandra before she's even on the podcast, but she had this dress too that went viral as well, that it had sold out. So when people came to her site, they couldn't buy it anymore. It was an affiliate. But what she did was she did a post about how to find the right fit that would fit similar to this particular dress. Like this dress isn't in stock anymore, but these are the things I loved about this dress. And here's some other suggestions that might fit very similar. I was like, that's genius too.
Yeah. So that kind of goes into what we've talked about not deleting pins, because for one thing, it's been repinned a million times. You have no control over that. But rather than deleting a pin that maybe worked great for you, rework the content that it linked to something valuable that converts. And she did that.
Yeah.
Very smart.
I didn't get a chance to talk to the help desk people, but because they were slammed all day. I mean, people had their computers open. They were showing them things. And they were also giving out emails, which was great. So I know that the spam and the stolen pins question came up as well in some of the sessions. So I know that I know Tailwind's trying to find a solution to help with the spam accounts. Is that, or like people who get marked as spam? Or no?
There has been the thing with the spam, I feel like Pinterest has that well under control. They're not really sharing details about what they're doing, obviously.
Correct.
That wouldn't make sense. But they're taking it really seriously, and so they're taking care of that. But the one that we're kind of interested in helping out with a little bit is that a lot of people are finding that their accounts have been shut down.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and they're not being spammy. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not using an unapproved scheduler. So if that is you, here's it's a public Google Doc. Ooh, that's a really ugly URL. Let me see if I can get a better one.
Yes, I've had people email me too. So if you're the people who have emailed me or messaged me about your account being shut down and you haven't done anything wrong, please follow this list.
Yes. So, I mean, it's public. So know that if you put your email there, we can't protect it. But what we'll do is probably tomorrow, I would guess tomorrow or Monday, put them together and let Pinterest know. I mean, no promises, but I know it happened several months ago and we were able to help a little bit. And so if we can help, we will help. One thing that I noticed while you were at the event, and then Danny shared it with me like 2 minutes later, it was so funny. I was doing some promoted pins and I was looking at the step 2 in the ad group setup, and it was showing me that it will show you the size of your audience based on the interests or keywords that you you
Yes.
chose. I mean, it doesn't work when I advertise for Tailwind because there's always an audience and they're like a custom audience to include or exclude. But if you're doing straight interests or keywords, we have that feature has been gone for years and it's back now. So, so yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, they really talked a lot about what they're hoping to test and release. That was cool. You kind of got that a little bit kind of around, especially in that show and tell one. So things that they kind of pulled back the curtain, like here's some things we're thinking about. And people asked a lot of questions. There's no holding back.
Cool. So since the creators were so expressive too, I mean, what did you feel like their biggest wants were?
I felt like their biggest wants were better analytics. That wasn't one, a really understanding like the pin stats, the audience insights piece, really giving more feedback about who's interacting with pins. I think that was a big one. And then how do we best, like, what's the best way to keyword a little bit? Like there was a lot of questions about, matching up the followers and kind of what I talked about in the beginning, like people interacting with your content and showing that to more people. And this is another thing that I think went along with that was they were in one of the classes I sat in, I can't remember what it was. They were, open to say like, there's a machine component to this, there is artificial intelligence and we're learning that. And sometimes we can't always predict what the machine will do. Right. So that is kind of the downside of artificial intelligence is you can program it to do something and it just doesn't pick up on normal, natural people cues. And so that was also another thing was like, we want this to happen, but the machine's not doing it. And
so we're all learning, right?
So we're all learning, right?
This question keeps coming up because you said that sites that have the save button and get 5 times more saves on their content. Is that the official save button or would a social plugin count?
Obviously, we're Pinterest, so they showcase the official save button. But I would say that you're having a button that makes it easy for them to save is really what we're going for. That's the ideal. I know some people create a save button for every single post. I probably wouldn't go to that effort. I do have a plugin on my site to do that. But I think that's the point that they were making is just an official or not an official. Let me back up. A actual save button where people can save, which I took a picture of that because it had said they had talked about the best practices thing. And one of the final notes, like the number 5 was just that, like you'll see greater, let me get there. I have an ant on my microphone. Okay. I know. Ask your audience to follow you on Pinterest. That coupled with like making it easy to share. Let me get that. There you go. They said that's how to get found. So
right. And the thing I love about that, like sharing it with your email list or Facebook or Instagram or on your blog, those are people who already engage with your content. So they are the ones who, when they see your content in their feed, will be engaging and then so that's showing Pinterest that, hey, this is good content. You should distribute it more to people like me. So yeah.
So to double back, it doesn't have to be the official save button. That's obviously what they showed because they're tracking their data that way. But just having a save button on your site is really, really important.
Yeah. I use them all.
Some people do. Every single one.
Yeah.
Just make your signal.
Save. Yeah. So anything else that we should know?
Yeah.
I want to share a couple of cool tailwindy things.
Go for it.
Okay. So, I don't even know if I told you this, Kate, but
new news.
We are doing a referral bonus from now through the end of June 17th. So normally if you refer a new Tailwind member, you get $30 credit, which you can use for drives or anything you want. You get $15 and they get $15, but now it's $30 from now through the end of June 17th. So if you have never used Tailwind, you can get that. If you want to refer a friend and they have never been a paying member and they haven't been referred by somebody else, they can click on it, they can get a free trial. And then when they upgrade, you get this $30 credit, which you can use for whatever you want. We have members who have never, ever paid for Tailwind because they have so much referral credit. So, so do that. There's also, I'm going to show you my screen and we'll see.
Ooh, screen share. We're getting fancy.
We'll see how this goes. So I'm going to add to, oh, look at that. Let's see. How do I make it bigger? Okay, there it is. You can see the back end of Be Live. That's not the point. The point is that, what is the point? Okay, Tribes Insights. So this is new and it's cool. So if you're wondering, like, are tribes working for me? Here's just an overview. I'd say they are.
Yes.
Right. And then you're wondering, okay, for my results, which of my tribes is working the best for me?
Very cool.
380 shares. So then, like, when I'm adding pins in, what's the virality I'm getting by tribe? Oh, I should be putting more into that tribe. Things like total tribe results. You can see who is supporting you and go say thank you in the chat, or you can go share their content. You can see what pins do the best in that tribe. And when you see some with some huge numbers, like, I want to see what in the world is she pinning that everyone is sharing. It's kind of crazy. The other one I love is like, I think it's this one here. Yeah. Your contributions. Right. Okay. So this virality one here under your contributions is how often your audience repin content you pin from the tribe. And so that means that these are the tribes that have the engaging content that your followers love, which is great if you need to supplement pinning your own content with somebody else's, but it's also really good for content planning, right?
Interesting.
Right? So my followers are really loving what I share from Pinterest friends. So if I go in there and look at what I'm sharing, what is getting the repins on it, then I should be thinking, what kind of content should I be creating, with that in mind? There's another, let me share the double referral landing page in here. But also, there's other thing. What? I'm telling you.
Do we have the insights now? Or is they okay?
Yeah, they should be there. They should be there. So let me show you this thing that I am very, very excited about because I am a slacker when it comes to my Facebook account.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to schedule this one to pin. And we're going to take forever because we're on screen share.
That's what happens.
Okay. There is a new button
to
publish to my Facebook page.
Okay. So Facebook page instead of Facebook personal profile.
Right. But here's a really cool thing. Okay. When you click this, you write in, if you want, a Facebook page caption, right? So if you don't write anything in, it will just share the link with no caption, which is okay, but I would rather have a caption. But it does not share the pin. It goes to the website and pulls out the best image for Facebook and the best content description, taking it from that website. So it's actually, it's not like, oh, I shared a pin to Facebook, which doesn't always look that great. It's completely different. And I may not be a terrible Facebooker anymore.
If you are a Pinterest marketer who also does Facebook management.
Yes.
Boom.
You need to use that. And some of the questions that have come up are, okay, so what if I use board lists and I schedule that pin to go out to 6 different boards and I click the Facebook page thing? Does that mean that I'll get 6 Facebook updates with the same? No, it only goes out the first time.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So no worries about that. I've tried it. It works. I like it. I'm excited.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I'm real busy. So.
Okay. You guys have been working hard behind the scenes.
We have. So, I mean, you just came back from the conference, but what else are you working on these days?
My email? No. I would say I am working on, I have a lot of things. I have no travel for the summer. So I would say like today and tomorrow are like get things tidied up, but we are definitely working on a promoted pin service here at Simple Pin. We're doing our beta and hopes to launch it in September. So that would be one of them. And then number 2 is we're always working on client happiness and data. So I am working with a data analysis person. I have been since January. So we're trying to pull out like what happens between food and non-food. And then how does our network work and ROI. Like there's been a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So I feel like my brain is kind of ready to explode with all these things that are in my head. But this is step 1, just getting out all of this information.
Getting it all out. I hope you feel better now.
I do. I have, and then I also want to show you like, they gave us this, which is like a really pretty hard copy of the top 100. And what they said was they don't predict based on like, here's these trends based on last year, but here's these trends based on what we'll see this year. And so it's, you can make notes in it. You can map your mind. Like this is really cool. 6 ideas in 6 minutes. And they have these kind of all around, and it has different niches. So somebody was talking about travel. They have all this really cool thing. So I'm going to dive into this. And basically my immediate answer is I'm just going to catch my breath. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Maybe next live we do, I'll have a more solid answer.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to go on a little trip.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I love vacation.
Excited. It's been a very long time. So if you follow me on Instagram, I apologize. I will be obnoxious about it. I mean, not gloating or anything, but I'm sure there is, and I'm sure it's not very nice. But
yeah, that's true.
I considered blogging about it and thought, you know what, everybody needs to step away from the computer every now and then. So
you do, and get new ideas and get refreshed. I think that's a big thing too there.
Yes. All right. So we look forward to seeing you again in July. I think we're booked for July. We'll see.
Are we? I thought we were skipping July, but I'm not totally sure.
Okay. Well, but in the meantime, check out the blog.tailwindapp.com and Simple Pin Media and your Simple Pin podcast, which now that we heard a little bit about Alejandra, I will be very excited to see that.
Me too.
I love those tips.
Go subscribe in iTunes for sure.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing your day with us, Kate. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to sign up for that referral bonus. Share it out with your friends so you can all get some free Tailwind, and check out the new Facebook page publishing feature. Take care, everybody, and happy pinning. Bye.